I gave this talk as the very first talk of the conference. I wanted to make a couple of points. I had 5 minutes then, which was a bit short to present. So what I'd like to do is just go over what we did, some interesting work to figure out what are the edge applications. And this is not quite on the topic of the rest of the morning of network transformation for business innovation. However, the edge is a key part of that, or at least for parts of it. So we got sponsored by the Linux Foundation to find out what are the applications, what are the edge applications, what are they going to be, and which ones are going to produce revenue, what are the difficulties involved. So I want to make a couple of points here. We talked to, since the edge is really not in full bloom today, we went to some of the world's experts, thought leaders, experts that have been involved in the edge for the last 2 years and some of them more. We talked to major operators, talked to the major equipment manufacturers, we talked to a couple of startups that have been focused on this edge area, and a couple of others. And the representatives were from Asia, Europe, and North America. So even though it's a small sample of 14, we interviewed them to find out what each of them thought were the key applications for the edge and which ones are going to produce revenue. And so first off, what's the edge? Many people have said, oh, I like your diagram because now I can understand what the edge is, because there's so many different definitions of edge. And in fact, there's not a single edge. We define an edge as being about 20 milliseconds from the end device, end user, end machine, to some edge location where there's compute. So what are those edge locations? Certainly major data centers are not. Regional data centers, some of them have 20 to 50 millisecond time frame, so some of them will fit that 20 millisecond, but a lot of them will not. COs are certainly, most of them are within that time distance, but also operators tell us that 82% of the operators around the world say they're going to, at some point, deploy UCPE, the little boxes that I call, that have a pico cloud in them. So they provide an edge compute environment, but they're on the campus sites, or on the campus locations, or building sites. And in the future, certainly for consumers as well. Also, the cell sites, there's a lot of IoT gateways that will be in place. They're certainly out there at the edge. And so, lots of places. So, what are our findings? The top edge application we found had to do with video and content, video, CDN, video content delivery network, caching, but also some other video applications at the edge. So all but one of our respondents identified that as one of the key edge applications. And of course, the Cisco prediction is that by 2021, 82%, it's already half, but 82% of internet traffic will be video. So it's a huge problem. It takes up a lot of bandwidth, and that's an application that's not latency based. It's bandwidth based. You want to reduce bandwidth in the network across the networks, across the metros, across the core networks, and then autonomous vehicles, AR, VR, the factory automation already in motion. So I'm not going to go over all these. I'm going to make a couple of points. The top revenue drivers, according to the experts, the distributed virtualized mobile core and fixed access, kind of interesting as a revenue generator, but private LTE, gaming, video content delivery, and factory automation. So there's a lot of places to invest. We asked them what needs investing in and how important is it? And so a 6 or 7 means very important. So there's 10 areas of investment to get the edge really deployed at some point in time. So top takeaways, interesting that I already identified the top 5 edge applications, but interestingly, if we look at what Google, Facebook, Alibaba, a lot of over-the-top or internet content providers have, they have, most of them have metro locations, but they're 20 to 50 milliseconds from the edge. But the telcos have 5 to 20 milliseconds at the edge. So the telcos have advantage of location. Of course, they need to be built out, but basically they have that closeness to the end application. We found that a lot of the edge applications, the initial deployment was cost justified or strategy justified, but as soon as they considered putting edge compute for that first application, they of course say we have edge compute sitting there, and what are the other applications that we want to add on that might be revenue bearing to take advantage of that edge compute. I think certainly the edge is complex. If you think of all of the initiatives going on, many of them talked about here, a lot of open source and other initiatives, MEC, NFV, fixed mobile convergence, Acrino. You can look at a whole stack of different approaches to help solve the problems at the edge, to help deliver applications at the edge. But what's going to happen? You know, there's no industry consensus. And another big finding was that a lot of the experts said there's no common platform for applications to be developed on. There's no common API set. So there's a lot of challenges to get there.